Skeletal muscle is a massive post-mitotic syncytium. It operates as a single giant cell containing hundreds of individual nuclei packed along its outer membrane. Because these cells are so large, a single nucleus cannot manufacture enough proteins to govern the entire volume of the cytoplasm. The cell relies on the myonuclear domain. Each nucleus makes proteins only for its immediate local volume. Training expands cell volume, stretching each nuclei's domain and diluting its control. To compensate, satellite cells fuse into the fiber, donating nuclei to restore the optimal domain ratio. A central question in muscle physiology is what happens to these acquired nuclei when training stops and the muscle severely atrophies. A study by Lee and colleagues tracked these nuclei over a long-term detraining period in a mammalian model to observe their long-term survival. The data shows these acquired nuclei are resistant to apoptosis. This cellular permanence does more than prime the muscle for future size. It alters the cell's metabolic capacity. These results suggest that muscle memory involves a physical, architectural component stored within the geometry of the muscle fiber itself. The experimental design compared 4 cohorts over a 28-week timeline: control, trained, pre-trained, and retrained. The initial 8-week stimulus involved a heavy weight-loaded ladder climbing protocol. This training resulted in a 20% increase in myonuclei counts per millimeter of myofiber. Following this, the pre-trained cohort entered a 20-week detraining phase, equivalent to 15 years of inactivity. As expected, muscle mass regressed back to its untrained baseline. However, DAPI staining showed that despite this loss of mass, the pre-trained fibers retained all their acquired myonuclei. While the cell volume shrank, the nuclear count remained high. This lowered the karyoplasmic ratio, creating an abnormally nuclei-dense environment within the fiber. This dense nuclear state leaves the detrained cell structurally distinct from a naive cell, even when they are the exact same size. The consequences of this structure become clear when comparing how naive versus pre-trained muscles respond to the same retraining protocol. The retrained group achieved a 14.8% increase in cross-sectional area, outperforming the 8.9% increase seen in the naive group. Because the retrained fibers already possess a surplus of nuclei, they can bypass the slow process of satellite cell recruitment and immediately initiate protein synthesis. The study also identified a shift in fiber typing. Typically, resistance training triggers a glycolytic shift toward fast-twitch type 2 fibers. While the naive group showed a spike in glycolytic markers, the retrained group showed a significant increase in MyH7 mRNA expression. High MyH7 levels indicate a shift toward oxidative, fatigue-resistant type 1 muscle fibers. The presence of extra myonuclei doesn't just accelerate growth, it appears to redirect the muscle toward a higher oxidative capacity. This oxidative shift was supported by peak activity levels of respiratory enzymes, specifically succinate dehydrogenase and cytochrome C oxidase. Researchers confirmed this metabolic engine by measuring mitochondrial DNA copy numbers and the abundance of PGC1-alpha, a regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. The retrained muscles possessed the highest mitochondrial content and mtDNA copy numbers of any cohort in the study. To determine if the dense nuclear environment was directly responsible for this expansion, the researchers moved to an in vitro environment. Using an isolated L6 myotube culture allowed them to eliminate systemic biological variables. They artificially induced a nuclei-dense state by dosing the myotubes with IGF-1. This setup mimics the cytoarchitecture of the detrained rat fibers, a high nuclear count within a low cytoplasmic volume. These nuclei-dense myotubes were then exposed to AICAR, a compound that simulates exercise stress, to measure their oxygen consumption rate. The data shows that the nuclei-enriched myotubes reached significantly higher basal and maximal oxygen consumption rates than standard myotubes. The nuclei-dense myotubes successfully upregulated a larger array of electron transport chain genes from both the nuclear and mitochondrial genomes. These in vitro results indicate that a high density of myonuclei directly increases a muscle cell's capacity to build and operate mitochondrial infrastructure under stress. Mitochondrial biogenesis is a complex logistical task. It requires coordinating over 1,000 proteins from the cell's nucleus, with 13 proteins synthesized inside the mitochondria itself. This coordination happens through anterograde signals, where the nucleus dispatches specific instructions and proteins to the mitochondria. It also involves retrograde signals, feedback loops where the mitochondria send status updates back to the nucleus to regulate transcription. A high density of myonuclei physically reduces the distance these signals must travel across the cytoplasm. This condensed geometry creates a highly efficient communication network between the nuclear genome and the mitochondria. In a naive cell, fewer nuclei must coordinate this protein synthesis over a much larger and less efficient physical domain. The persistence of myonuclei ensures that the metabolic gains of past training are preserved within the cell structure. Banking these nuclei early in life may provide a cellular defense against age-related mitochondrial dysfunction and muscle loss. Muscle memory is not just a return to a previous size. It is an architectural rewiring that leaves the cell more metabolically capable of responding to its environment.